Hello, this is a monthly discussion for our Central Region Team Engagement Virtual Team. My name is Milos, I'm the area VTL, and Kim Leffler is our theater VTL. This call is open to the entire Central Region. For those of you that have not attended before, we welcome you. Today we'll discuss offer updates, answer questions, and, most importantly, take field data for our products. Things like competitive information, customer success stories, and suggestions for features or functionality. If you remember last month, we talked about Microsoft integrations, kind of like a part one of a series. Last month we reviewed ACML, and this month is part two of the Microsoft integrations, and we'll spend some time on Zang and Esna. More specifically, just kind of a big picture view of our Microsoft integrations. We have a variety of options. Kind of starting from the bottom, we can do a direct integration on-premise supported with our SBC. We could also federate through presence services and Avaya multimedia messaging functions within Equinox. And of course, we can do ACML for Link and Skype for Business client-side integration, as we discussed last month. And last but not least, we also have an Esna product that does a browser integration with Office 365, now known as Equinox for Web. And this is what we'll be spending time on today. So for those of you not familiar with Esna, Ash Tahirian is our Zang Regional Manager, and John Biancucci is our Zang SE Manager. And John, I believe you're on the line with us. Please feel free to take it away.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, good morning, everybody. So, as Milo said, the product that is being developed through the Zang team, which is also Esna, is the same team that's doing the Office Links solution. You might be familiar with that. And then we're responsible for all of the web components, anything around the Equinox for web tool sets, whether it's with the IP Office, whether it's with the Aura suite, or whether it's a pure cloud-based Office Links with the iLink Pro. All of that is sort of the same framework. And what we're going to show you today is the way that this simply integrates for the Microsoft world in the messaging and the click-to-call solutions. Okay. We also provide within the Microsoft realm the unified messaging, but that's when we're using Office Links, and that's going to be outside of the scope of today's discussion. But you will see parts of that as I go through my demonstration. Okay. So I'm going to present my desktop. Okay. So what you should see now, I am in my Office 365 account here on my browser. I am using Chrome. Okay. So the one portal of this that it does have to support the WebRTC components. So it does have to be in Chrome or IE today. We are working on other browsers such as Safari and Firefox. Okay. So what this is an extension within the browser tool. So first I'm going to show you in the extension list, okay, out of the local stores, the customer would install the Avaya Communicator for Web. Okay. When that gets put into the Chrome and then it's injected across any elements within the browser, not just as a one-time thick client, okay? But what you do see, and I'm going to back out a bit here, is how we're going to be able to log into the various elements, okay, using this tool. Remember, this is a full soft phone device off of IP Office, so it has full video and audio capabilities. But what the user is allowed to do is now select who they want their IM and presence provider to be. If we use default, then it would be just off of the local ACW IM tool set. Okay? We can also select Skype online or Skype on-premise. Okay? So user makes this decision. Okay? They also put in their local IP Office credentials to now connect their telephone. I'm going to do that here. If they have not yet logged into their Office 365 account, they will be challenged to put in those credentials as well. And now that simply allows the device to be enabled. Okay? It shows me all of the Skype for Business users and whether their current presence is offline or online. Okay. Also, I'm able to use this as a full telephone device. Okay. So now, even if I minimize that client, okay, it is still an active tool set. You'll see up here in the toolbar. Also, if I go into my email account, my Office 365, you'll notice there's a little slider button over to the far right, which is very simply able to pop out by clicking on it. But it also injects communication items across the web. Okay? So if I go down into one of my emails or down into a voicemail if I'm using unified messaging, okay, you notice here I can see who the contact is. If there was the voicemail message, play it back through my desktop. But if I click on the contact, it allows me now to also add not only direct email or Office 365 communications, but now I can leverage the Avaya Communicator for Web, okay, including if I'm using Equinox conferencing, okay, or I want to do an IM chat with Adam. This is now going to do this through the Skype for Business and also identifying, as you see, here's current presence. Since Adam is not logged into his Office 365, I'm not able to chat to him. Okay, but remember the back end is all done through the O365. Okay? If Brian Dingwall was online here, same thing now. If I go to chats, I can do a test chat to Brian. Okay, and again, this is all done through the Office 365, the Salesforce Skype for Business. I'm sorry, Skype for Business IM chat tool set. Even though it's in the framework of the Avaya Communicator for Web. All right. Anytime we see a representative phone number, whether it be in an email or a web page, this tool also allows us to do an automatic click to call. Okay? Or if I go into my contact list here in Office 365, if I go under people, okay, and I'll see if there's anybody that has a phone number engaged. Let's see if I've got one against my own profile. Okay, so that I could call, okay, just by click the button here, and then you'll identify which phone number. So this is part of my profile of my various devices. So if I click on the dial button here, okay, okay, let me just get my soft phone. Okay, that's up. Okay, and it's going to make a phone call out to that person, or in this case of Brian, if I do a click to call. Okay, and right now I'm getting a device fail because my device is not currently logged in on my IP office. Huh? If I go to just a basic web page, so if I went to Avaya, and if we find a phone number and contact us, that number there, as you see, also has a click-to-call element against it. Okay, so this is the ACW, okay, injecting across the telephone number capabilities and allowing me to do a click-to-call. Okay. If I go back to the client tool itself, okay, you also see where I can change my presence. I can make myself unavailable or available through the ACW, okay, back to the IPO. Okay. It'll also reflect that presence back if I go on to my Skype for Business. Okay. If I want, I can just use it as a basic telephone, do a local search here. Okay. And then it's going to search the IP office directory if it finds a match, okay? Or it's going to look into my Skype for Business contacts. Settings, you can also change this so that the client tool is available for auto answer. You can start video chat automatically if it is video capable from the caller or the calling party. Extend E164 dialing rules. Okay. Okay. Integrate to other elements, not only Office 365 and Skype for Business, but you can also leverage things like Google. Okay. And it has an online tutorial, very simple set, so that when the tutorials are activated, Anytime you open up a frame within the client tool set, it gives you a little help option and identifies where all the elements are. Even if I'm on a conversation and I go to another web page, that client tool stays engaged. Okay, it does not disappear. It's not like a thick client where I have to keep it in front of all of my work at this for it to engage the conversations. Any questions around what you're seeing so far? Any use cases that you can think of that you might identify with this tool? Okay. Now, unfortunately, Ash was not able to make this call. He does have more around the sales and marketing elements, as well as getting some reference customers that are using Office 365 with any of our product tool sets, not just with the ACW. So once he has that information, he'll be passing that along.
Perfect. Thanks, John. And, around customer requests, you have a primarily enterprise group on the phone here. I anticipate somebody might pipe in here with some specific requests, but typically a customer with thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of stations on a communication manager will ask us, how can we integrate to our Microsoft Skype for Business environment? At a minimum, they'll have instant messaging and presence, but sometimes they have the conferencing as well. So what I've seen so far is you can use the browser to integrate into the PBX for telephony, but also potentially use Zang as the backend for messaging as well, for the unified messaging.
Yes, that's correct. As I said earlier, so if you were using the Zang Office Links product in collaboration with the client tool within the browser, then yes, you can also extend out that unified messaging component. So as I'm showing you again here within the Outlook, we can take all voice messages, have them fully synchronized and replicated into the O365 account. So what that means is that the actual voice message, sorry, this is a missed call. I'll talk about that in a second here. That means this voice message, this physical file, is residing in two sources. One is on the voicemail in the Office Links, which is behind either the CM or the IP office, and in fact, it can communicate to both systems simultaneously if you have a large enterprise customer who has multiple different PBXs in their mix. And it doesn't even have to be an Avaya product. We can also extend this out to Cisco, Mitel, GenBand systems, even Zang Cloud trunking services can also be used with the Office Links in behind as the messaging solution. And then what we're doing is we're fully replicating into the store for each user in their O365 account. When the user accesses this message here and listens to it online, okay, on their desktop, it's then identifying that message has been read and or deleted in O365. So the same thing will happen back in the voicemail. Therefore, the MWI will stay synchronized. Conversely, if the user dials into the telephone and listens to the message, same thing. When they mark it as read or mark it as deleted through the phone access, it'll be done so on the voicemail system. It'll also do the same function on the Office 365. So the user does not have to manage both stores independently, and again, keeps the MWI in synchronization. So that's a very strong point over and above what you can do with other systems via basic messaging, or if you're relying on an Exchange environment as your storage-only point. Okay, so it gives you a replication, so you have a built-in backup of the audio files, plus it gives you that deliverability with the synchronization. To extend that, as you see, that gives you the voicemail as an attachment. But we can also instead, for security purposes, so in a lot of the government, a lot of the financials, a lot of the healthcare, they actually don't want these voice messages being delivered out to a external source, especially Office 365. It is now cloud or hosted, so it's outside of the corporate network. Okay, or if they were using Google or some other hosted solution. So instead of delivering this as a physical attachment, we can deliver it with a secure link. Okay. Now what happens is when you click on this message, it actually is pulling the message back from the voicemail server as streaming audio. Okay. But then you notice this actually forces a challenge of the user to be able to retrieve that message. So if I forwarded this message off net, okay, to somebody else. And this contained some sort of personal information, whether, again, it's financials or medical information. That person, when they click on the link, is not able to get access to that message because of that challenge back into our voicemail system. And if they don't have an authorized account, they can't go in and check that. Okay? And again, you can leverage that in different modes. We can do things like just basic SMTP forwarding, okay, like others, if you're not worried about the UM or the message waiting light, or you don't have any security risks behind that message being passed externally. Okay?
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, John. Hey, just a question for the team. I know we had some opportunities where customers are asking us for options for Microsoft integrations. Is there anybody on the phone with us now that has any specific opportunities that we could help with? I hate picking on people, but is Dave Stanky out there? Well, John, maybe at another time we could talk about General Mills. They're kind of going through discovery phase right now.
Yeah, this is Dave. I just was slow on the mute button is all, Milos.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for jumping on. Do you have anything that we could help with over at General Mills?
Well, we've got some folks coming on site tomorrow to do an overview presentation for General Mills. So we've been working with Jason and Mark quite a bit, and they're coming out to do an Office Links overview. The interesting thing with General Mills and kind of the urgency behind this with them is they had switched to Exchange in the cloud for their voicemail situation. And two things have happened. One, the announcement from Microsoft where they're dropping support for an SBC interface to the Exchange product in the cloud is a big one. And then also the management at General Mills just figured out that the cloud solution violated India's laws about voice being stored in country, and they're quite exposed right now to some pretty significant fines if they don't get their voicemail in country. So there's two things happening at General Mills that are moving this along.
Yeah, we're having actually that same discussion with Allstate and another insurance company with their India division. So yeah, exactly that to go in house. But then, as I just pointed out there, that the way we do unified messaging, that's a very good solution for them to keep it as the on-prem in country. Even though the email solution is looking into the cloud. So certainly Mark and Jason will be able to address that for you guys very well.
Yeah. No, it's looking really encouraging at this point. We'll know more tomorrow after the presentations, but at this point I'd say it's pretty encouraging.
This is Carla Tate. Is there any way that we could document some of the issues that you're finding with Microsoft so that we can have some ammunition when we go into our customers to, let them know and make them aware of some of these issues?
Yeah, I'll certainly ask for that information. Really what we're showing more is, the ability to sort of overcome, Microsoft's own issues, and really more around the use case as, we just discussed with what General Mills is going through. You probably all heard that the Microsoft is deprecating the ability to use gateways into the Microsoft or any telephony applications. Office Links, because we do direct SIP trunking, we actually are able to also work around that. So we can also be engaged as the messaging solution even for the Skype for Business users. So we've got really two really strong cases. One is the IM component. So again, remember, this is not a federation, as I showed you earlier. This is actually an engagement within our framework, okay, to use the Skype for Business, okay, again, as the IM and P. And this is not only for the Avaya Communicator for Web. That's going to be with the Equinox, and it's going to be across all of our browser communication devices. Okay, that you're going to be able to cherry pick basically what you want to use for your telephony application and then what you want to use for your IM&P. So again, very, very easy tool set, but certainly a differentiator from anybody else in the market today.
So, yeah. Because I think that what's very helpful when we go in to talk to the business is that if we give them some use cases and some challenges that other customers are having, because just when Dave said, you know, the use case about the Indian contact center, there's 4 different customers I know that I have that have contact centers there. So there's some common threads, I'm sure, that the customers are having some challenges with. And if we could, it doesn't even need to be pretty, just a bullet list of the use cases and some challenges that our customers are having, we could bring, when we talk to them and get them engaged and start having discussions about this, we can bring those up to make them even start thinking about that. They may not reveal that in an initial meeting that we have with them, but they may take, you know, some of those items and go back and research and then come back to us and say, oh, wow, we didn't even realize that was happening.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. I know Michael Seeley, who is the manager of the enterprise sales team, does have a lot of points around that. So I'll reach out to Michael and get that information to you guys.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Ash, this is Dave again. I guess one of the other things I've heard is that the UK now and Germany is also having some in-country voice storage requirements. Have you heard anything along those lines as what, you know, in addition to India?
I haven't heard that directly, but it doesn't surprise me that they will. You know, in fact, not so much on the voice side, but certainly on data storage, localization, you know, here in Canada, you know, we sort of run into the same thing, especially when we get into the Fed space. U.S. government, I think, is the same. So, yeah, I think we'll probably see a lot more of that requirement being pushed out to us. So if you look at what we do with the office links per se, we also have what we call a high availability, which basically is a multi-node system all acting as a single system. So what that means is you can have localized voicemail systems, but the replication can be pushed to other servers and other data centers, and even across country lines, depending on, you know, again, where their storage requirements happen to be. But a lot more robust capabilities, whether it be in a central, our customer's data center or in a hosted environment, virtual or physical. So we have a lot of flexibility in the design tool set. And as I said, you know, customers at enterprise level who have, you know, disparate systems out there, both on the telephony and in the email side, we can certainly sort of act as the bridge tool through all of those systems to ensure that integrity and the solution is doing what the customer needs.
Cool.
Is there any issue with this moving to Teams? Are you guys? Do you have to develop anything new when they move to Teams?
I'm sorry, I missed the question there.
So Skype for Business is moving to Teams. It sounds like it's a name change for Microsoft. But when they move to Teams, is there any other redevelopment that you have to do? New development?
I don't know on that specifically. I'm wondering if Teams is sort of what they're calling, you know, sort of what Slack is or what we're using as far as spaces, Zang Spaces. So it might be an extension of that. As far as just the IM tool set, though, I don't believe so. But again, I'll check with our development team and see if there's any changes. And again, if it does happen, as long as Microsoft doesn't slam the door on everybody, you know, we should be able to do it on our side. And it would be the same engagement probably that you see with the customer, you know, that I showed you. Just, you know, point to wherever their presence link is and just engage with your own account.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Carla. It sounds like it's a question of APIs, but we'll definitely follow up on that.
Yeah, I've been trying to read information on Teams, and I get more from the comments of everybody commenting on what they're doing than what Microsoft's actually putting out there.
Sure. So a couple more questions on customer opportunities. I know last month we brought up Fiserv and Associated Bank. Unfortunately, that engineer is out this week. He's not on the phone with us. I think we brought up Kraft. Is Chris Millar on the phone? That's okay. And then we also brought up some questions around Microsoft as well. Is Chris Murray out there? Okay, looks like we don't have those guys here. But, John, I think the intent here was to see if we can generate some activity around opportunities for you. And I would just leave it up to the team to maybe follow up with you afterwards. If you wouldn't mind providing contact information, I could share that with the team as well.
Yeah, you bet. We'll do.
Okay.